All right. Well, it is 3 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started this afternoon. Thank you for joining FCSUA's May informational webinar, Supporting Student Wellness with Compassion. My name is Drexel B. James, and I am the Marketing and Communication Specialist here for the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities. This webinar is being recorded, and today is a panel discussion with three of our Florida post-secondary comprehensive transition programs. Our presenters today are Gwendolyn Carey from the Academy of Community Inclusion at Florida Atlantic University, Melissa Kent from Titans Up at St. Petersburg College, and Jamie Best from the Inclusive Education Services at the University of Central Florida. If you have any questions, you can post them in the Q&A session and we will do our best to answer them. At this time, we are going to begin our webinar. So first, I just want to have each of our panelists introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their experience working in their FPCTP. So Gwen, if you don't mind kicking us off and introducing yourself.
Thank you, Drexler. Hi, all. I am Dr. Gwen Carey, and as Dr. Drexler shared, I am with FAU's Academy for Community Inclusion, and we have a few of our team members that just popped in the room. I have been with ACI since the beginning. We brought our first students in January of 2016 and have learned quite a lot during that time.
All right. Melissa Kent, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Melissa Kent. I'm the project coordinator for SBC's Titans Up. I've been the project coordinator here for almost 2 years.
All right. And then Jamie Best.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today. I am Jamie Best. I am the Director of Inclusive Education Services at the University of Central Florida. I am not the original administrative team that started the program in 2015, but I am the second, and I took over in 2021, and we have really grown our team, and we're excited to share some of our newest support components today.
Thank you, ladies, for joining us today. We are excited for this panel. So let's jump right on in and ask the first question. When did you begin to offer mental health services for your students? Let's start with Melissa.
Sure. Great question. So even though I've been the project coordinator for only 2 years, we have offered mental health services since the start of the program for over 10 years. And our students are allowed to receive 7 free mental health services per academic year, and they can receive them virtually or in person.
Okay. Gwen, you want to go next?
So similarly to Melissa, we actually started building a relationship with our university's counseling center before we even had our first cohorts on campus to have those services in place when they were needed. So we started from the very beginning, but honestly, the process has evolved.
All right. Jamie?
Yes, so similar to what Gwendolyn just said, we have a partnership with the Counseling and Psychological Services. We call it CAPS at our university. And when I started the program or took over the program in 2021, there was already an established relationship with that department, and they offered, so it was master's level counseling education students would offer group counseling to our students. So sometimes there were issues within the cohorts, and group sessions were needed. So they were always available for those. And then also the one-on-one counseling services. So our students could receive 3 sessions, and then if there was a further need, that there would be a referral to the Wellness and Health Promotions Department, which could provide long-term counseling for them.
Thank you. So all 3 of your programs have had mental health services available for the students pretty much the duration of these programs, correct?
Yes.
Yes, we actually we have a new partnership. That was when we took over the program, but we have a new partnership that started this past fall, and it's the School of Psychology, they offer support groups and they send out a survey at the beginning of our each semester and just get a gauge on what topics our students are interested in learning about in the group for the 7 weeks. And then our students vote on it, and then those topics are discussed for 7 weeks for an hour at a time for each of those group sessions. So we've done it in the fall and the spring, and it's been really successful. The students have chosen relationships as their topic of choice for both semesters. So that's interesting.
Oh, wow. I think
Yeah.
that's great that the
Yeah.
students get a voice in saying what it is that they need.
Mhm.
So it's really personalized for them. So, second question, why was it important for you to connect mental health services for your students? Jamie, we'll start with you. Why did you think it was important for this to be available for your students?
Well, I think that it helps to bridge the gap between when they're coming into the program from, high school or, whatever their environment was and into their adulthood. So I think it's important to incorporate these mental health services, not only, the partnership that we have with counseling and psychological services, but also we kind of weave these supports throughout our program and the different supports that are provided throughout our program. So we offer a Speak Up group that meets once a week for our students. It's a self-advocacy group, and it's run by licensed speech and language pathologists that work in the SLP department here at UCF. So we're really proactive with offering these services so that it doesn't turn into more crisis, the need for that crisis support. We also provide executive function coaching once a week with the students too, so it helps them to learn how to, regulate their emotions. And then we've just added a social mentor component too, so our students are able to one-on-one just talk about more personal things that are happening in their lives. And then it helps them to grow those relationships personally in their personal lives as well as when they're, in work relationships as well and trying to navigate professional work relationships. So I'm not sure if I'm rambling or even answered your questions, but I just think it's important to be proactive with these supports so that you can minimize those um, those more emergency crisis situations.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Just like you said, being proactive and being ahead of the curve and helping them to figure out solutions before it becomes a crisis.
Sure.
Gwen, what about you? Why did you believe it was important for students in the ACI program to be connected to mental health services at FAU?
So initially, we tried to build those relationships with all departments throughout the university that provide support to every undergraduate student because our students coming in had the right to access all of those. As we moved forward, we realized our students were using CAPS, the counseling center, more than any other university support that was available to them, more than medical services, more than student accessibility services. We honestly didn't expect for so many of our students to need counseling services. I don't have the data on it, but I would say 30 to 40% of our students at some time between start and graduation do reach out to the formal counseling. And then once we saw that, as you do at UCF, we implemented other more programmatic supports to help students with that. Our students have a social group with SLPs as well, where they have time to just work on some of those social skills issues, which a lot of our needs come from poor social skills on both sides. That if either person knew how to resolve an issue in the first place, it probably wouldn't escalate to tears and the need for outside support.
Mhm.
Um, and then we've also built some classes into our curriculum. Since our coursework's a little different than most, we have some specialized classes. So we have some mental health strategies, although we're not counselors, um, infused into the curriculum. There's a class called Effective Living where the students focus on mindfulness and breathing and other strategies that they can implement themselves once they're out in the world and things become a little bit stressful, because I think that happens to all of us. And access to professional counselors are critical, but we don't always have that every day when we need it. So having those self strategies has been beneficial too. Again, just like Jamie, I'm not sure if that answered your question or is more than you wanted to know, but the need has proven to be great.
Melissa, what about you at St. Petersburg College?
Sure, it's important to connect counseling and mental health services for our students because um, their emotional well-being directly impacts their ability to learn and thrive in the college setting. Many students are dealing with anxiety, stress, and life transitions. And without proper support, those challenges can become barriers to college success. And when we connect students to mental health services, we help ensure they have access to supports to manage those emotions and to advocate for themselves. Um, and we do see a need as well with our students and the college as a whole. So, great question. Thanks for asking that one.
Now, I want to ask a follow-up question because Gwen, you said something that was very interesting to me. You talked about how you at FAU have interwoven mental health services into the curriculum. So I'm curious, Melissa or Jamie, do you also have it interwoven into the curriculum in your programs, or how do students know about the mental health services available to them?
Great question. I don't know if
Mhm.
Melissa, if you want to go first or.
You can go ahead.
Okay. So we actually have, and this, I don't know if you can see it because my screen is blurred, but we have it posted. So the supports that are available to all of our UCF students, campus wide, we make little like flyers, I guess, for our students. We have them posted around our space as well as and any of the spaces that they frequently visit, but also in the classes that we teach, the career planning courses, it's always in the modules at the at the beginning of each. I don't know if everyone uses Canvas, but it's available to them. We also when the students are going to their self-advocacy groups, it's important. It's one of the topics that are discussed is the importance of maintaining your mental health and what does that look like now that you're in a new environment. So, where are those resources here on campus? And then also, um, thinking long term, if you're taking care of your mental health here, it might look different when you're returning uh, to home or wherever you're going after graduation. So just really being mindful of helping the students to navigate that process as well, and having it transfer, to wherever they're going during breaks or, long term when they're graduating. So we have the self-advocacy groups, discussing the different resources and the importance, but then also they meet with their executive function coach and it helps them to, again, gain that self-advocacy on scheduling those appointments and making those appointments for themselves, or if they're feeling like there's a need, reaching out to their counselor and making that appointment for themselves. And it's really helping them to build that independence piece as well.
Melissa, what about at St. Pete? Do you all have it integrated into the curriculum, or how do you inform the students about the services available for them?
So we do have some self-advocacy classes that teach skills on self-advocacy and soft skills and hard skills, but we also, just like Jamie Beth said, we have flyers and we have it posted around campus. Also, my staff also will announce pretty regularly that this is a service that is offered to the students and it's free. So we let them know how to get the service if they need it and come to us if they need help getting the service. So we try our best to get the word out that it is available for them.
So it sounds like information is definitely an important part of helping students to be connected to these services and to know that it's available. Just letting them know this is what's out there. But I also think it's really impactful that you all have found ways to bring it into the curriculum to show education isn't just about being smarter, but it's about being a whole individual and really showing them the importance of not just improving in one area, but improving overall.
Mhm.
All right. Claudia, are there any questions at this time?
No yet.
Okay. So then we will move on. So the next question, and Melissa, I'm actually going to start with you. How
Sure.
have how have your students benefited from using these services or being exposed to these services?
Sure. So, our students have showed improved confidence, better emotional regulation, and improved um, self-advocacy skills. It also has improved their social skills, which leads to better overall well-being, better attendance, more work is being produced and churned in. So just overall, we see a significant improvement as we know that mental health is health and we treat it just like any other health.
Okay. Jamie, how have your students benefited?
Well, we actually can look at, before we had some of these supports in place, the amount of crises that were coming into our office on a weekly basis, or even just, feeling like we're always putting out fires. And I think that those situations helped us to realize the need, and then how to support the students holistically. Like, I feel like the students have definitely improved on their emotional well-being, like overall, but they're able to regulate their emotions in situations maybe that before they were more rigid, or those type of situations that are occurring maybe at work when they're having to maintain a professional demeanor. We've really seen success in that if they have outlets. Definitely improved academic success because the stressors of all of the new um, the workload and the pressures of being a college student and having to do a lot of these things independently, whereas before they might have had more supports. I feel like they're able to manage that with their executive function coaching weekly. And like Melissa said, there's a definitely a genuine confidence, and you can see that they're wanting to try new things, get up, and some of the we had a creative drama would come in, and it was a group from Orlando that would come in. It was a theater group, and they would come in and teach impromptu improv skills. And the students that were never raising their hand in class and having that confidence or wanting to get up in front of the class to present, those type of fun activities that they're learning that they're good at some of these things and learning how to improv. And really that's what you do when you're in class and you raise your hand or an instructor calls on you. It's helping them build that confidence so that they're able to do that more independently. And we see an increase in engagement on campus in different social events and clubs. The students, we're not requiring them to do it. It's that they're wanting to get out there and they're wanting to come in and share more about, the different connections and groups that they become involved with. So I would like to think it's that holistic approach is really helping them to maintain their mental well-being.
And it's interesting, you and Melissa both spoke about advocacy, and it seems that there's a common theme that comes out of connecting these students to these mental health services is it's helping them
Mhm.
to arm them with the tools they need to be able to speak up for themselves and to advocate for themselves, which really helps to translate into them becoming more confident and more independent, which is one of the major goals of students enrolled in these programs is to be able to be independent. Gwen, how about you?
So jumping right off of that comment of yours, Drexler, I'm going to break this into two pieces. For the more social driven mental health needs that we've seen recently, the supports that we can provide, that some of our social groups can provide, absolutely do help promote independence, self-advocacy, self-determination. We discovered that many of these young people who were having escalated stress from interpersonal interactions had no idea how to handle it themselves. Even as college age adults, we discovered that their moms were getting involved and calling each other's moms and trying to solve it. And the college students, these adults, weren't having the opportunity to learn these strategies in this relatively safe environment. Um, so that's actually something that the students have come back and said lately is, I can use these things. I know how to do it myself now. I don't have to get mom to fix all of my problems. Yes. Um, but then on a more serious side, so the social piece is one. Again, the poor social skills that lead to crying because you don't like me today or they don't want to hang out with me is one thing that we can usually handle internally with some of those strategies. But we've had many students over the years. Tomorrow is commencement. Tomorrow we have Chloe and Sophie, graduates 67 and 68 walking. So, I mean, there have been many students come through, and we've had students from 18 to, I think George was 52, but I could be wrong. Um, and in that vast period of life, we've seen students have more serious crises. Not that our social difficulties aren't serious, but we've seen students lose parents. We've seen them go through some really traumatic times that myself as an educator am not qualified to really support. So that's when we found those counseling professionals to be remarkably beneficial to help walk our students through some more significant needs.
Okay. Gwen, you said something that was very interesting to me when you broke it down into the serious mental health services being offered, but also the social side. When you were referring to the social side, were you referring to these students being more integrated into the college community by being part of clubs, and that being one of the benefits of them receiving mental health services is feeling that confidence to join a club or to go to an activity or participate in campus fun?
That's not where I was going with it, Drexler, but yes, the more of these skills that they have, the more successful the students will be, or the people will be outside of our small groups when they're with their neurotypical classmates or other people in the world in the workforce when they have these strategies to handle things more appropriately.
Okay. I just was very curious when you mentioned social, my mind immediately went to thinking about joining clubs and being involved on the campus community. So I just was a little bit curious about that.
So what I meant, Drexler, is we've had two pools of mental health needs. We've
Hmm.
had really critical things where we've had crises occur in life, but then we also have a lot of still mental health and still very serious and important, but driven by a lack of social skills between ourselves and our classmates or our friends sometimes. So I kind of separate them into two buckets. One we can often handle, or our colleagues can handle, and another really needs to come from licensed mental health providers.
Okay. But I do think it's important to differentiate because that is a part of mental health is social skills, as you said. And I think sometimes we don't think about the fact that sometimes not knowing how to conduct yourself socially can also impact your mental health because people sometimes can get in their mind a little bit thinking, oh, they don't like me. And that also can negatively impact mental health. So I think that's great that you brought that up to really showing, and all three of you mentioned it in one form or another, helping these students feel confident enough to be able to say, I can get in front of the class and present, or I can go to an event and connect with people, really showing them how to function in society.
Hmm.
All right. So we only have one more question left, or I should say one more question that I told you about because I've been asking questions off the top of my dome, just really interested in this conversation. But the final official question that I have is, What would you say to other programs about the importance of having mental health services available for their students? So, Jamie, what would you say to other universities that have FPCTPs about why they should connect their students to mental health services?
Well, I think that it's very important. Obviously, mental health is just as important as physical health, and but we all know that. But I would say that the prevention side of it, or being proactive, I think that that has worked the best for our students, and being, reducing the severity of some of those stressors or issues, and then just being consistent. So it's helping the students to stabilize themselves, and maybe reduce those more crisis situations. I think it's also important to note that, we're building all these wonderful supports while the students are in the programs, but also to be mindful that the programs are very short. Um, you know, in duration, and the students, when they're here, they're learning how to, notice their own mental health, to take care of different things, and using the supports that are around here, but then thinking about long term, what are those supports going to look like wherever they're going to next, so that they're starting to plan for that. Because one of the things that, I feel like we do a really great job with supporting the students while they're here and teaching them all these wonderful skills. But then they're leaving this, supportive environment where everything's very local, to, wherever that's going or wherever they're going next. So just being really mindful of those next steps for the students, and helping to plan for their mental health wellness when they're not with us.
That's good. I especially love that concept of long-term thinking just beyond tomorrow, but thinking what this could look like for the future. I think that's really important, an important skill to teach. Melissa, what
Mhm.
would you say to other state colleges about the importance of connecting their students to mental health services?
Sure. I would say that mental health services are foundational to student success because, as we know, students cannot fully engage academically or socially or independently if their emotional and mental health needs are unmet. This can be especially true for some of our students in our programs. I would also encourage programs to normalize mental health conversations and
Mm,
integrate supports proactively rather than waiting for a crisis to happen. Um, just like she was saying, in the long run, when we prioritize mental health, um, we are not only strengthening the individual students, but the health and sustainability of our programs.
that's good. That's really good. Gwen,
Thank you.
I think we're up to 38 programs across the state now, and it could be more by today, for all I know. Um, all of our programs and institutions are different. And I think it's important for us to really tap into whatever our own setting has that could help support our students. Some of us have a team of 8. Other FPTCPs have one person who's running everything from within side. And we're not all counselors or psychologists. I urge people to look at their institution. We built a relationship with CAPS, the counseling center. I think Melissa mentioned the psychology department. We reached out to them, we had conversations. That didn't go anyplace. We're right now building a strong relationship with our counselor ed department, the department that helps train LMHCs. They have an assistant professor that was hired recently who has IPSY experience. So you don't know who's around your university that could benefit, that could be a mutually beneficial relationship. That partnership with Counselor Ed is helping to train those employees at CAPS to work with our population because not everybody is particularly skilled at that. Um, and we give them the opportunity for their students to have these experiences before they go out into private practice in the world. So look at what's on campus. there are things out there that can help you and your students so that you're not doing it all yourself.
You and Melissa both said something that I believe is truly key, and it's starting conversations. And this has been a great opportunity for us to start a conversation among our programs and get that idea rolling of how can we start conversations on our institutions, campuses, to get our students connected to mental health services. So I really think that is key is we have to start talking. We have to start connecting. We have to start building those relationships across campus. It's going to be crucial to provide success for our students. So at this time, that is all the questions that I have for the panel, but I want to open the floor up to our audience. If anybody in the audience has any questions or any thoughts that they would like to share or contribute to the conversation.
Drexler, you have some questions in the Q&A.
Okay. Uh, can you read the questions to me? Because unfortunately, I'm
Sure.
not able to see them.
Yes. So the first question is from Jackie. So are accommodations, example, extended session time, simplified communication, visual supports provided within mental health services?
Okay. If any of our panelists would like to jump in and ask that question, answer the question, not ask it.
And I can read the question one more time. It says, are accommodations, for example, extended session time, simplified communication, visual supports provided within mental health services?
That is a great question. I actually I don't know the answer to that. I don't think I've ever thought about that with our students that have used the supports that are provided at UCF, but I'm assuming that if it's a UCF support that the students are able to use their accommodations in those settings as well, but that hasn't come up. So that's a great question. I don't know if I don't know if that's the question you were asking.
No, that does answer the question. I think what they're asking is, do mental health services have accommodations to help students with intellectual disabilities?
Through student accessibility services, is that what, am I understanding that?
I think so, because it's about accommodations and extended session times for if they need to. So I think you did, Jamie. I think you
Okay.
did. So the next question, what trainings do faculty and staff receive to recognize and respond to mental health concerns among students with disabilities? If
So
you have an answer for that. Go ahead, Melissa.
at St. Petersburg College, we do have a mental health first aid training that I have received, and several of my colleagues have received the training as well.
Gwen and Jamie?
We have a faculty member who is trained in certain types of mental health within our program. But honestly, I think for the most part, the faculty are trained to, if there is a concern, connect with the counseling centers who are the experts in this area. We are not the mental health counselors. We are the teachers who know our students best, and we know when something's wrong with them. We may not know what it is, but we know when they're not themselves, and that's when it's time to get them some help.
Yeah, same. I do have a background in behavior and crisis prevention intervention, but I always tell my staff that, if there is a concern that's above what we are trained to do, that it's always reaching out to those experts that are on campus and that could provide safety for the students and the staff.
I mean, that's one of the really cool things about working at a college or a university. There's an expert
Mhm.
in everything,
Right.
someplace nearby.
Great. Okay, so next question. Have you experienced pushback from students as it relates to counseling? If so, how has that been addressed?
So I think that there is some stigma still surrounded by mental health and receiving counseling. Um, Students think that they need to be in a crisis in order to reach out for help, but that's not necessarily the case. They may just be overwhelmed with the amount of schoolwork or a social situation. And that is something that a counselor can help them with. And so that way, if a crisis does come up, they do have a trusted professional that they can go to. So it's being very proactive. But yes, I do try to have conversations around mental health because I believe that is one way of ending the stigma on mental health, like saying it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to ask for help. Just letting them know that it's okay. Everybody needs help sometimes, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually had somebody recently, one of our students that, I mean, we recommend, counseling services if it's above, like, again, above something that that our staff are trained for, or if it's longer in duration that we don't have, the time to support the student long term, we always refer to. But when this one student that's about to graduate, we were talking to her about going to counseling because she was getting upset about the transition home. And I think, things were coming out at work and stuff too. So we kind of mentioned that again and just offered that as a support. And she said, well, I don't need counseling. I'm not crazy. I'm not a crazy person. So I think that there's a lot of stigma still, too, like with a lot of our students. But I think just normalizing counseling, these visuals that we offer, around our space, it also, it will tell you what types of things. So it could be, you have financial stress, or you're stressed out about your academic workload, or a change in your work environment, things like that. Those are also topics that you can discuss with a counselor. So it's not necessarily you have to go to those counseling sessions because you're in crisis, or you're, you know, crazy, or, whatever the stigma is. So just trying to normalize, counseling services, that it's healthy to maintain, your mental health just as you would your body.
I find Jamie and Melissa's comments very interesting. Um, our students are commuters, so they're all from a relatively local and the same area. And I feel like where they're coming from, for the majority, that stigma has already been broken. So many of our students and family members already go to private counseling or have gone to private counseling, or their friends have a counselor. Many of the students are almost happy to go. Like, can I go talk to somebody? I would love some therapy. It's a good thing.
Mhm. That's great.
So whatever
Um,
experiences they've had before they came to us have really helped us with that battle, because the vast majority, I believe, see it as something positive to help.
that's
Whereas I
great.
remember when I was younger seeing it as something must be wrong.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting that, Gwen, you've experienced a positive benefit, whereas, as Melissa and Jamie said, there is still that stigma around mental health. And that's just across the board. People still seem to have this mindset that for me to go to counseling means something's got to be wrong. But like Melissa said, it's breaking that stigma. It's having that conversation and saying nothing has to be wrong, nothing has to be broken with you. It's just this is a tool and a resource to help you.
Yep.
Okay, the next question. What role do families play in supporting student mental health in post-secondary settings, and how does the program balance a student's independence with appropriate family involvement?
I'm trying to think of a situation where, so we always honor the students. So if the students, it's not something that they want their families involved with the discussions about their counseling, we honor that. We haven't really had students that we've had to, reach out to the families. Um, I don't know. Does anybody have a different experience? I can't think of a student that we've had a family involved in their counseling.
Our families try to be involved in everything, whether they should be or not. And I think they are often gently told that the student they need to work through this. They can talk to you when they go home if there's anything that they want to share. But then we've also encountered that if there's guardianship, a family member does need to sign before they're allowed to go to that university counseling center, which is not the majority of our students, but we've seen it a few times. So the student can go and ask for the services, but then the guardian needs to approve it.
Okay, let's see. This is a very interesting one. So, Sandra is asking, is anyone here from a technical college that has been able to incorporate mental health? And if so, how was it possible? So, if you are in the audience and you are from a technical college, if you want to raise your hand, we can actually unmute you so you can provide Sandra with some insight. If not, Sandra, we'll try to find the answer for you later to connect with other technical colleges. But if anyone is able to answer for Sandra, just please raise your hand and we will allow you to talk. Okay, Cheryl Rushing. Thank you, Cheryl. Go ahead. And you are muted, so we cannot hear you. Okay, no, we're unfortunately, Cheryl, we're not able to hear you.
That.
There you go, perfect.
Okay, sorry. So we have a guidance counselor on campus that will speak to our students if they have any social issues or if they're struggling, but we don't have a mental health counselor. I don't know if that helps if you have a guidance counselor on staff that your students may be able to talk to. So that's what we use
Okay.
at a tech college.
That is a good alternative if there's not a mental health
Mhm.
service or office on campus. A guidance counselor is also equipped to help.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Cheryl, for stepping in.
All right.
Well, Drexler, I think those are all the questions in the Q&A chat.
All right. Well, thank you, Claudia, and thank you for everyone who asked questions. We do want to thank our panelists for taking the time today to share their experience and their expertise on incorporating mental health services into their programs. And we want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. Now, we do want you to take a moment really quickly. You can use the QR code here on the screen, or we are going to drop the link for our evaluation into the chat. Let's just take a minute or two to fill the evaluation out. This information is very valuable to us. It helps us to plan for our next webinar, which will be coming in the fall semester. And we really want to know what it is that you want to talk about, you want to learn about, what will be beneficial for you. So take a moment and go ahead and complete the evaluation survey.
Drexler,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you for being such a well-organized moderator.
You were wonderful, Drexler.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. And then if you have any further questions, comments, or anything else you just would like to share, you can feel free to reach out to our office at any time, email, you can call us. You can also visit our website and get in contact with us there. And also, you can follow us on any of our social media channels. We are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on X. We do have a YouTube channel, which this webinar was recorded, and it will be available on our YouTube channel in the coming days. And also, we're on LinkedIn now. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, follow us on LinkedIn as well to also find out all the great things that we are doing here. So that is it. Again, thank you all for joining us this afternoon, and we hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful rest of the week. And we look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you all.